Can you picture this scene? An endless night, where the Arctic moon is nothing more than a faint streak of light drifting idly across the frozen sky. The sea, black as ink, ripples with tiny waves, while massive icebergs float slowly, creaking as though whispering secrets to one another. In that atmosphere, I want to tell you an ancient story, a legend passed down through generations of the Inuit people, the tale of Qalupalik, the sea spirit that steals children. Before getting into the main story, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment to support the channel. The elders in the village often begin this story in a hushed voice, as if afraid that speaking too loudly would summon Qalupalik from the icy waters. For Qalupalik is not merely a shadow of imagination, it is a very real fear, something lurking beneath the freezing waves, where the ice meets the sea, where the tide slaps against the wooden boats of Inuit fishermen. They say Qalupalik is neither fully human nor fully monster. Its form is half human, half sea creature, with skin pale green like seaweed, and long black hair, always dripping wet, clinging to its bony shoulders. Its eyes are deep and dark as the ocean abyss, and a single glance is enough to make a child tremble, paralyzed with fear. Qalupalik wears a special coat made of seal skin, with a large pouch on its back. That pouch is where it stuffs the children it takes, stubborn ones who refuse to obey their parents, or those who dare wander near the water's edge without permission. Perhaps you're thinking, this is just a story to scare children. But imagine this, in a frozen land where survival itself hangs by a thread, children who stray from the village toward the sea face danger with every step. A single slip on the ice, and they vanish into the cold forever. Death comes as swiftly as the wind, leaving no time for cries of help. That is why the Inuit wove the figure of Qalupalik, so every child would carry that fear deep inside, and never dare to take the risk. But this story is more than a warning. It carries with it a haunting presence, a living legend with breath, with heartbeat, and with whispers echoing from the depths of the sea. Listen closely. Tonight, I will tell you a particular story, one that the elders in my village have told and retold through countless generations. Long ago, in a small village on the edge of the Arctic Ocean, there lived a boy named Anik. Anik was known throughout the village for being restless and stubborn. He loved to wander, to explore, never sitting still even when his parents warned him. "Don't go near the sea alone," they often said. "That's where Qalupalik waits." But Anik, like so many curious children, only laughed. To him, Qalupalik was nothing more than a ghost from scary tales, a creature that couldn't possibly be real. One grey afternoon, as the wind howled past the icebergs, Anik slipped out of the tent, carrying a wooden stick, and wandered toward the shore. The waves rolled steadily, and the sea was so black and deep it seemed to swallow the last light of day. Standing there, Anik played with chunks of broken ice, tossing stones into the water, listening to the hollow plop echo from the freezing depths. And then, he heard something strange. A song. At first, it was faint, distant, like the wind whistling through cracks in the rocks. But the more Anik listened, the more he realized it was a melody. A slow, lulling tune, hauntingly sweet. It was like the voice of a woman singing a lullaby, gentle, soothing, yet strangely enchanting. Anik lifted his head and looked around. No one was there. Only the sea and the ice. Yet the singing still lingered, as if rising from beneath the water itself. Curious, Anik stepped closer, sat on the edge of the ice, and peered down. And then he saw it. A face. Skin pale green, long black hair floating in the frigid water, and eyes dark as the abyss staring straight at him. Qalupalik. Anik froze, his whole body stiff with terror. He couldn't even scream. Because at that very moment, Qalupalik smiled a chilling, twisted smile and raised its thin, bony hands above the surface, clutching the edge of the ice. The song still lingered, now clearer than ever, like a spell weaving itself around him. Anik felt himself being pulled not by force, but by some strange compulsion. He wanted to lean closer. He wanted to touch those cold, skeletal hands. But then, from far away, a voice cut through the air. Anik! Come back at once! It was his father's voice, frantic, calling from the village. For a brief moment, Qalupalik hesitated. Its dark eyes flared with anger, then it released the edge and sank back into the depths, swallowed by the Black Sea, leaving only ripples across the icy water. Anik trembled, collapsing to his knees, his heart pounding like a drum. He had escaped death by a hair's breadth. You might think that from then on, Anik would change, that he would listen to his parents' warnings. But no. His first fear faded quickly, replaced instead by a fierce, burning curiosity. He wanted to know more. He wanted to see Qalupalik again. In the days that followed, Anik continued to sneak out to the sea, still searching for a glimpse of that creature. And one evening, as the sky burned red like blood, he heard the singing once more. This time, Qalupalik was not content to hide. It raised its hands from the water and revealed its full form, a frail, gaunt body wrapped in a sealskin coat, and on its back, a large pouch swaying in the waves. Inside that pouch, something moved. Anik's heart froze. He could see them tiny arms, flailing desperately. Children. Other children, perhaps taken long ago from distant villages. Anik. The voice slipped into his mind. Not sound, but a whisper planted directly inside his thoughts. Come to me. I will show you the world beneath the sea. There, you will never be cold. Never hungry. Only the eternal lullaby. Anik felt himself step forward. His feet touched the edge of the ice. He wanted to go. He wanted to see. But before he could take another step, a strong hand yanked him backward. His mother, her face pale, her eyes wide with terror. She clutched him tightly, crying out desperate prayers to the sea. Qalupalik watched them, its abyssal eyes flickering with hatred. Slowly, it sank back into the dark water. Yet before it vanished completely, its voice returned one last time, cold and venomous. I will return. One day, Anik will belong to me. Because I know you, the one listening must also feel the same shiver Anik felt when he saw Qalupalik. Can you hear it in your imagination? That lullaby, enchanting and sweet, yet deadly. The Inuit believe that if you listen too long, you will not be able to resist. You will willingly step into the cold embrace of Qalupalik, and you will never return. And that is why parents always warned their children, never wander near the sea without an elder by your side. For the sea holds more than waves and ice, it hides spirits, waiting, watching. In the days that followed, the village knew no peace. It wasn't only Anik who had heard the song, other children began whispering that when they went near the shore, they too could hear a voice, a lullaby rising from the waves. Parents grew fearful. They tightened their rules, refusing to let children leave the tents without adult supervision. But you know how children are, the more forbidden something is, the more they yearn to test it. And Qalupalik never gives up. It is as patient as the darkness itself, circling the edges of the ice, waiting for the right moment. Anik was different. After his last encounter, he was both terrified and haunted. Every night in his dreams, the song returned, echoing like a lullaby from the deep. And when he woke, drenched in cold sweat, his heart pounding, he felt as if Qalupalik was right outside his tent, peering through the cracks. One day, Anik decided to confess everything to his grandfather, one of the oldest elders in the village. The old man listened, his wrinkled eyes narrowing with gravity. Qalupalik is not just a story to frighten children, he said, his voice rough and storm-like. It is a spirit of the sea, born from darkness and fear. It takes stubborn children to feed its strength in the depths below. Only fire, and courage, can drive it back. Then, the elder told Anik an even older tale. Once, long ago, a child had been taken, but somehow managed to light a flame in Qalupalik's darkness. That flame forced the creature to release him. Yet it was not an ordinary flame, it was the fire of the heart, the courage, the bond with family, and the strength of the village. Anik listened, caught between hope and fear. But from that moment on, he knew one thing for certain: he would face Qalupalik again. That winter dragged on longer than usual. Snow blanketed the roofs of the tents, the sea froze thick, and food grew scarce. The villagers had to travel farther and farther to hunt. During those journeys, the children often stayed behind, waiting. And it was then that Qalupalik struck. One stormy afternoon, the villagers heard a terrified scream. They rushed to the shore, only to find small footprints pressed into the snow, leading straight to the edge of the ice and then vanishing. No other trace remained. Nothing, except for a lullaby echoing faintly from beneath the frozen sea. A child had been taken. Terror swept through the village. They built barricades of ice, burned fires through the night, and prayed to the spirits of their ancestors for protection. But deep down, everyone knew the truth: Qalupalik had marked this village. And it would come again. Anik could no longer bear it. Guilt gnawed at his heart. The last time, it had been him Qalupalik wanted, but he had been saved by his parents. Now, another child had paid the price in his place. A fire ignited within him, fierce and unyielding. He had to do something. That night, Anik slipped away carrying a torch, making his way to the shore. The wind howled, the ice cracked beneath his feet, but he did not falter. Standing before the black, endless sea, he raised the flame high and shouted, "Qalupalik! If you want a child, then take me. But release my friend." At that moment, the sea roared. A mournful song echoed across the waves, long, chilling, unearthly. Then, from the shadows, Qalupalik emerged. Its whole body glistened with water, skin pale green, hair matted and dripping, eyes as deep as the abyss. On its back, the sealskin pouch shifted. Something inside was moving. "Anik!" The whisper slid into his mind. "You called, and I have come. Step closer. I will hold you in the arms of the deep. There, you will never be afraid again." Anik trembled, but he remembered his grandfather's words: only fire and courage could drive it back. He thrust the torch forward and shouted, "I am not afraid of you." Qalupalik growled, the sound grinding like stone. It lunged, withered hands stretching out to drag Anik under. But the flame flared brightly, searing into its eyes. Qalupalik shrieked, staggering backward as the sea foamed and churned. In that instant, Anik saw the pouch on its back burst open. A tiny hand reached out. Without hesitation, Anik lunged forward, grabbed hold, and pulled with all his strength. Both children tumbled onto the ice, while Qalupalik wailed in fury before sinking into the darkness. The child was saved. The villagers rushed to the scene, stunned to see Anik clutching the rescued child, the torch still blazing in his hand. And in that moment, everyone understood, he had faced the darkness with a bravery no one else dared. From that day on, Qalupalik never appeared in the village again. But the legend lived on, retold from generation to generation. And Anik's name became a symbol not because he was fearless, but because he dared to rise, to hold up the light against the darkness. They say Qalupalik never truly vanished. It still lingers somewhere, beneath the ice, in the blackest of nights, waiting for a wandering child. If you stray too close to the edge of the sea, you may hear it, the lullaby, sweet and enchanting, yet laced with death. And that, my friend, is the story I wished to tell you. A tale both chilling and profound. It reminds us that legends are not mere threats to frighten children. They are lessons in survival, woven from the fears and wisdom of our ancestors. In the brutal cold of the Arctic, a warning could mean the difference between life and death. Qalupalik is the darkness. But it is that very darkness that makes the flame the light of courage, of family, of community shine all the brighter. So if one day, you find yourself before the frozen sea, and you hear a distant lullaby drifting across the waves, remember this story. Do not step closer. Turn back to the fire, to the ones you love. Because Qalupalik is still there, beneath the ice, waiting, patiently.